Hey everyone, welcome to another Morning Manao with Lexi Love. And today I am going to talk about the craziness that is the Arizona primary election. It's crazy. It took place on August 2nd, which was Tuesday, and today is Thursday. I really truly believe Arizona is up to no good in the elections. So let's go to the Arizona primary election results on Google. We're using big tech to validate our concerns today. Let's go to New York Times. The primary consists of it's kind of like semifinals, if you will. So in 1998, I voted. Since then, I have voted in every single election. I've never missed an election, and I have never came across any situation where there was a big stall, like it took days to count in votes. Now that doesn't mean that there haven't been recounts, which took days, but those were recounts. It is extremely simple to count votes, okay? And here we have 82% reported. On Tuesday, August 2nd, they stopped at 82%. Why did they stop counting the votes? Then we had 20% left. If they could count 80% of the votes, for sure they can count 20% within that same night. It always happens. Every single election that I have ever been involved with, we were able to count 100% of the votes. And it stops at 82%. And you would think, okay, well, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. And maybe they had to, stop for whatever reason. People need a break, which never happened in other elections. I would understand if they continued the very next day, which is August 3rd, which was Wednesday, which was yesterday. I could understand if they would continue and then count the rest of the 20% votes after counting 80% in one day. No, they still haven't done it. They still haven't counted it yet. Why? I'll tell you why. So Kari Lake, my girl from Arizona. And the reason why I'm invested in Arizona is because I lived there in most of my childhood. I lived in Arizona. Now, Kari Lake is not establishment. In fact, I really like this girl because she used to be a former journalist. She used to be a former news anchor in Arizona. People like Kari Lake and even our local boy, Brenton Awa, who had been ousted and who had been fired, not only fired from their jobs, but ousted out the entire journalist community because they were whistleblowers. They were outspoken of the extreme vitriol that the news media has spewed out, especially over the last 8 years. And Trump endorsed her. And she is all for Trump policy. She's for a secure border, which is very important for Arizonians because Arizona is on that border there. They're a border state. So yeah, safety is a major, ultimate, critical concern for people in Arizona. She's all for borders. She's pro-life. She's a 2A advocate. So she's all of these things that the left hate. She had come under scrutiny as well with the 2020 elections because she had shared her grave concerns about the integrity of the elections and how things were stalled and how, votes weren't counted for a very long time. And then when the results came back, all of a sudden the votes stopped counting. Why? We don't know. They still never told us why the votes stopped counting. But when they did start counting again, several hours later, Biden was automatically ahead. Just like that. The guy who can't speak, the guy who shakes hands with air, the guy who's responsible for this inflation, high gas prices, no more formula on the shelves, the guy who's responsible for all of this stuff. Oh my gosh. So she questioned all of these things and the news media painted her as a lunatic. She's ousted from the media. She expects it because after all, she came from the media. In the election, early on in the primaries, I was following it, right? The first votes that come in are voters who do their mail-in ballots. Secondly, the more MAGA, Trump-valued, centered voters will vote more in person because they don't trust the mail-in ballot election process, which makes sense. We've always voted in person, and now that people are not voting in person, they get to mail in a ballot. All the initial votes that they counted were mail-in ballots, and a lot of those went to Kari Lake's opponent. Now, here's the interesting thing about Karen Taylor Robinson is that she's an established Republican. She's part of the establishment of the GOP. So she had more money coming into this. She had about like $26 million invested into her campaign. Karen Taylor Robinson was also endorsed by Mike Pence. So early on, Karen Taylor Robinson was in the lead. She was in the lead by 10 points. So what had happened was in Arizona, in-person voters who need an ID card. So you can't fraud that, okay? Because everybody who votes in person has ID. So you had a ton of in-person voters. The precincts, they were so overwhelmed with in-person voting that they ran out of ballots. They did not anticipate that Arizonians are men and women of integrity for the most part. So an overwhelming population, they voted in person. All of the precincts panned out to her favor, except Maricopa County. It's the biggest county. It includes like the larger part of Phoenix, so a very dense populated area. They stopped counting in Maricopa County. Okay, let me ask you this question, all right? Let's think here, because this is morning manao. Some people, they need their coffee before they think about things. But, my coffee is thinking. Why, on God's green earth, would you withhold 20% of the votes that have yet to be counted? Why would you do that for 2 days now? 2 days. What's the hang up, Arizona? What's the hang up? It doesn't take that long to count votes. It doesn't. And you're taking 2 days to count 20% left of the votes? What's the hang up, Arizona? So you wonder why people are a bit on edge as far as these votes are concerned. 2020 election, Trump versus Biden. All right, everybody knows how that went down. Trump was ahead. He was gaining momentum. He was gaining votes and electoral votes for that matter. Then counting stopped. Biden all of a sudden had this tremendous lead, all of a sudden. Now you have Arizona and you have Kari Lake, who's, first of all, her opponent, right, Robson, was in the lead. And so, everybody, the votes were coming in like water, actually. And then Kari started taking the lead. Why? Because of those walk-in voters. And they did not anticipate that Kari's base would come out strong with the in-person voting. Just after Kari clenches the majority for all the state of Arizona, look at this diagram. You see here, you see all the red? All the red is Kari. Okay? That little portion, Kari won all those precincts. That little small portion with probably enough votes to, if everybody voted for Karen, that probably could put her over Kari Lake. So they're taking 2 days to think about it. These people, these powers that be, taking 2 days to think about it. We didn't expect the MAGA base to come out and show out and support their girl. So, we gotta take some time. We gotta take a couple of days to really figure out what we're gonna do. That is my theory. They're trying to decide what they're gonna do here. Okay, they don't want to declare anything. They haven't declared Kari Lake the winner. It's not really even close, actually. Kari Lake is up 46.2%. Karen is up 44.4%. I think that's grounds to just call it, because there's only 20% left, and they know that Kari Lake has the majority of those votes. They're trying to definitely crush her vibe. They're trying to definitely slow her momentum, but more than that, they're trying to figure out what to do. You can pour in 200,000 votes for the opponent from out your butt. If Arizonans vote, if they continue to vote, those real votes are going to supersede the fake votes that they would try to bolster another candidate of their choosing. But you know what? I believe ultimately Kari Lake will win this election. Why? Because Arizonans, the MAGA base, came out strong and hot. I mean, they just came out and they did the in-person voting, which was smart. It's clear that something stupid is going on in Arizona in the Office of Elections with the powers that be or whoever it is in there, and it's extremely clear that they don't like Kari Lake, and they're trying to like do whatever they can to devise a plan, but it's not going to work. This woman is a woman of God, and she just has tremendous faith. Like I'm amazed at her faith. She's like, no, I'm going to win. I mean, she's even questioning her own election. She's like, what's taking so dang long to count 20% of the votes? So that was the Mana'o Morning Moment with Lexi Lab. I'll see you later.